لگے، یہ ہے تیرا میرا ماں تیری دعاؤں سے،
تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں کی دعا جنت کی ہوا، ماں کی دعا جنت کی ہوا، ماں کی دعا جنت کی ہوا، ماں کی دعا جنت کی ہوا،
یہ کامیابیاں شہرت قدم قدم پہ ملی، یہ کامیابیاں شہرت قدم قدم پہ ملی، نصیب ایسا ملا ماں تیری دعاؤں سے،
تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں تیری دعاؤں سے،
طواف میں نے کیا کی سعی مروا بھی، طواف میں نے کیا کی سعی مروا بھی، جو میں نے عمرہ کیا ماں تیری دعاؤں سے،
تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں تیری دعاؤں سے،
مجھے گرانے پہ حاسد تلے ہوئے تھے مگر، مجھے گرانے پہ حاسد تلے ہوئے تھے مگر، میں دشمنوں سے بچا ماں تیری دعاؤں سے،
تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں تیری دعاؤں سے،
قسم ہے اس میں اجاگر کا کچھ جمال نہیں، قسم ہے اس میں اجاگر کا کچھ جمال نہیں، عروج اس کو ملا ماں تیری دعاؤں سے،
تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں تیری دعاؤں سے، ماں کی دعا جنت کی ہوا، ماں کی دعا جنت کی ہوا، ماں کی دعا جنت کی ہوا،
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another edition of News in Focus live on Radio Ansaar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Masberg 105.6 FM, and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba bikum. My name is Yunus, Sacoor, and with me I have my co-host SUMAYA Khan. We'll be in your company for the next 2 hours from 8 to 10 p.m. We'll be interviewing our guests shortly. Today the date is the 19th of November 2025. 29th Jumad al-Ula, 1447 AH. On tonight's show, we're going to discuss some very important subjects. Firstly, the NUSUK model for Hajj has been introduced, a few months ago. And we know that a lot of would-be pilgrims are concerned, how do they get access to the NUSUK platform? And, the kind of changes for South African HAJJ, because Sahuk is now, out of the equation and waiting list wouldn't apply anymore. And we'll also be analyzing the Palestinian refugees that arrived in Johannesburg, South Africa, and the way forward, because there's a lot of hype about, the sudden arrival of this plane in Oliver Tambo Airport, and the fact that, as we always do, South Africans respond to the humanitarian aid that was required, but there's some key issues that need to be discussed. And we'll do an update on service delivery, which we always do. And with me in the studio, I have some political activist Ratepayer Association members. Now, my guest for this evening is basically Dr. Barghouti Mustafa. He's the General Secretary of the Palestinian National Initiative, PNI, known as Al-Mulbadra. He's the head of the Palestinian Medical Relief Society, physician, activist, and politician. We're also going to interview later on in the program Reverend Frank Chikane. He's the South African chapter of the April anti-apartheid movement against Israel's settler colonial and apartheid regime. We also have live in the studio Brother YASEEN Khan. He's the head of Pilgrim Experience for TWF HAJJ. He will be covering the issue of NUSUK and whatever questions we have, and all the possible questions he will answer. Yaseen's been for a conference last week sometime in Saudi Arabia. He'll give us an update on some of the issues, pertinent issues that was raised in the conference. HASSAN MOTALA, as the asset manager, will join us later in the program, and he'll cover financial issues that are pertinent, for us to understand. We also have PRAHLADH on the studio, chairman of the Reservoirs Ratepayers Association and chairman of eTHEKWINI ERRA, as well as ABDOOL VALODIA. The show is interactive, and we welcome your comments, which can be sent to us on the studio WhatsApp number 06090411056. So send us your messages. But, I'd like to welcome those guests that are already in the studio. First of all, my co-host for this evening, Sister SUMAYA Khan. SUMAYA, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And thank you for joining us and sharing your, sort of important knowledge on various issues live on radio, on News in Focus.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Yunus. Jazakallah for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Then we also have PRAHLADH. Thank you for joining us this evening and welcome.
Thank you so much for joining you guys.
We have Brother YASEEN Khan. YASEEN, obviously, he's a household name and a brand ambassador for, the TWF, what you call agents for Hajj and Umrah. YASEEN, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and we're delighted to have you live in the studio this evening.
It's always a pleasure to be on here with you.
Okay, before we commence our first interview with Dr. Barghouti Mustafa, and he's going to share some very pertinent information on the Palestinian refugees arriving in South Africa. We're going to look at it from two angles. One is it's a humanitarian issue that South Africa had to respond and provide this aid. But on the other side, is Israel extending the genocide and going into ethnic cleansing? Because prior to that, another plane also arrived in South Africa. So we will analyze that. SUMAYA will be interviewing Barghouti Mustafa shortly. But before that, let's go for another nasheed break. And inshallah, SUMAYA will continue with that interview after the break.
Ya Rasool Allah, Ya Habib Allah, Aka. फिर के गली गली तबाह ठोकर सब کی کھائے کیوں دل کو جو عقل دے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں رخصت کا فدا کشان غش سے ہمیں اٹھائے کیوں رخصت کا فدا کشان غش سے ہمیں اٹھائے کیوں سوتے ہیں ان کے سائے میں سوتے ہیں ان کے سائے میں کوئی ہمیں جگائے کیوں پھر کے گلی گلی کیوں کرے سب کی کھائے کیوں دل کو جو عقل دے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں یاد حضور کی قسم غفلت عیش ہے ستم یاد حضور کی قسم غفلت عیش ہے ستم خوب ہے قید غم میں ہم خوب ہے قید غم میں ہم کوئی ہمیں چھڑائے کیوں پھر کے گلی گلی تباہ کیوں کرے سب کھائے کیوں دل کو جو عقل دے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں وہ جو نہ تھے تو کچھ نہ تھا وہ جو نہ ہو تو کچھ نہ ہو وہ جو نہ تھے تو کچھ نہ تھا وہ جو نہ ہو تو کچھ نہ ہو جان ہے وہ جہان کی جان ہے وہ جہان کی جان ہے تو جہان ہے آقا 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 کی کھائے کیوں دل کو جو عقل دے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں ہاں جان ہے عشق مصطفیٰ روز فضوں کرے خدا جان ہے عشق مصطفیٰ روز فضوں کرے خدا جس کو درد کا مزہ جس کو درد کا مزہ نازے دوا اٹھائے کیوں پھر کے گلی گلی تباہ کیوں کرے سب کی کھائے کیوں دل کو جو عقل دے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں ہے تو رضا نرا ستم جرم پہ گر لجائے ہم ہے تو رضا نرا ستم جرم پہ گر لجائے ہم کوئی بجائے سوز غم کوئی بجائے سوز غم ساز طرب بجائے کیوں پھر کے گلی گلی تباہ ہو کر سب بھائی کیوں دل کو جو اکڑے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں.
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Ansaar, Durban 90.4 and Petermarisburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sacoor. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday, Radio Ansaar, keeping you informed.
تنہا ہوں میں اور امتحان لاکھوں تنے ہے سامنے بیٹھا ہوں میں مایوس کن آئے نہ کوئی مجھے تھامنے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير معیوب ہوں تیرا کرم پردہ رکھا عزت بھی دی بڑھ کے دیا اوقات سے دولت بھی طاقت بھی اور وقت بھی کر دے خطا ہر معاف تو فہرست اسیاں کو چھوڑ دے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير رنگینیوں خود غرضیوں میں ہے گزاری یہ عمر ہے آرزو بس کہ یہی کر دوں تیرے نام شام و سحر تسکین دل حاصل کروں رخ اپنی جانب تو موڑ دے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير लब पे रहे जिक्र दुआ और तुझसे मैं डरता रहूं करके अमल कुरान पे जन्नत की राहों पे चलता रहूं खिदमत करूं इस्लाम की पछतावे का गम तोड़ दे अल्लाह अल्लाह तू मेरी सुन ले सदा حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير रोता रहा सजदों में जो दिल में लिए उम्मत का गम पढ़ता रहूं मैं तो फतन अपने नबी पे दुरूद हर कदम हो रूह जब तन से जुदा जन्नत की जानिब चले दौड़ कर अल्लाह अल्लाह तू मेरी सुन ले सदा حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, welcome with News in Focus with me, SUMAYA Khan, and my host, Brother Yunus Sacoor. In studio, we have our guest. We have Brother ABDOOL VALODIA, Ratepayers Association. And we also have another gentleman, Ratepayers Association. But I'm going to start interviewing something which is on everyone's lips right now. Currently, it's something that's going on. Just before we could start, my guest told me he's been on so many radio stations, so he's going to do something different. He's going to answer those questions which you want to know. So if you want to, we have a WhatsApp number which I will mention a bit later, and you can WhatsApp. YASEEN Khan, head of Pilgrim Experience, South Africa's leading Hajj and Umrah service providers, travel and tour world of travel and fly well travel. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister SUMAYA.
Jazakallah for waiting so patiently and coming to another radio station, another show where we're going to ask you the exact same thing. In general, for the common South African out there, what is the situation concerning NUSUK, concerning our Umrah and Hajj? Because there's so many misconceptions.
Okay, so let's jump into the first thing. There's a separation between Hajj and Umrah, which we need to clarify. Umrah hasn't changed.
Okay.
That there's still free access, that there people can travel for at any time of the year that they want to, obviously except the Hajj season. For Hajj, we've now moved from a mission-based system, where under the auspices of the former organization known as SAOK, to a direct model or direct Hajj system with the NUSUK platform, which is a Ministry of Hajj and Umrah initiative to allow potential Hujjaj and pilgrims to directly access and purchase, secure, and pay for their Hajj, inshallah.
Okay. Do you know, SAOK's role and relevance, according to recent reports, the Saudi ministry has mandated that South Africans register via NUSUK, effectively replacing SAOK as the Hajj Affairs Office. With NUSUK now being mandated platform for South African pilgrims, SAOK's traditional role has been dramatically reduced. Do you view SAOK as still relevant, or has its influence been largely sidelined?
SAOK, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on who you ask and whose perception or whose view on it, no longer has a role. They have no influence or control or say in the Hajj and the journey of Hajj for South Africans. Their role has been taken away. It is now a direct system.
Yeah. Do you know, what does this mean for the kind of local, culturally specific support pilgrims used to get from SAOK? At the conference, I think, which you attended recently, SAOK was reported to be meeting with ministers. Why were they there if their facilitating role has been diminished? And what was achieved, in those meetings?
I can't speak for them. I'm not sure why they attended.
What's your views?
My personal view, alhamdulillah, the Hajj conference is open to anyone from around the world. You log onto the website and you register. Once your registration is accepted, you download the Hajj Expo app. And what's nice about it is it's transparent and it gives you access to anyone. So anyone can set up a meeting with the Minister of Hajj. Anyone can set up a meeting with the Minister of Security, the Minister of Transport, any of the significant role players. You literally opened up your app, looked for an available slot, and scheduled a meeting. You could have gone through, you could have taken a photo opportunity, you could have smiled, and anyone could have done it. What they aimed to achieve there, I'm not sure. I know we were there, the organization TWF Hajj, the directors, Brother Irshad Malik from World of Travel, Brother Ashraf Mohammed from Travel and Tour World, Brother Ayaz Ahmed from Flywell Travel, Sheikh Imran Saban, our head of mission, also from Flywell. I know Brother Ridwan Gangat from Al Hussam was there, Mulana Suhail Patel who works with him, and Imtiaz Malik also from Show. He also attended. Anyone who attended was able to. There was no special invites. We were all open to attend, and any information that we gained or we learned, we brought back to the country. So, alhamdulillah, if they attended, they attended. I can't speak for what their aims and objectives were. I can't speak for what they wanted to do. I know officially we are on NUSUK.
Okay, alhamdulillah. There are multiple reports by prospective pilgrims who struggle with the NUSUK interface, from budgie verifications, upload issues to refunds. Many users, have reported serious technical issues when using NUSUK, from uploading passports and photos to failed verifications, which is quite common, to refunds taking months. How much of these reports has TWF Hajj heard? And what pressure are you putting on the Saudi authorities or NUSUK to resolve them?
Right. So what people need to understand is that the NUSUK platform and the NUSUK system this will be its fourth year in service. Each year, there have been significant improvements and significant changes and updates to how the platform works. Yes, in the first year, there were a lot of teething issues and there were a lot of challenges. It was literally in its infancy. It was the first time they rolled it out. And yes, there would have been some hiccups along the way. With regard to registration issues and verification issues, those who registered prior to the 7th of October, the official launch date, are still awaiting verification. We have several platforms that we run concurrently as guidance and support groups for potential Hujjaj who register their interest and who want to make the next step for the journey of Hajj. I would say, and I had a running joke with them today, I said if betting was halal, I would bet, and I would make a lot of money, that every time one of you asks me, Yaseen, why is my profile not verified? And they send me a screenshot of the mail they received. It's 99% of the time, the reason the verification fails is because they failed to upload their passport and personal photo in the correct format and the correct sizes. It's very specific information. I mean, we've prepared it, the ministry has prepared it, NUSUK has prepared it. These guides are out there. I think one of my favorite ones that I love to tell the guys at the office we joke about is, when you're asked to load a personal photo, your personal photo that they're asking for is a 200 pixels across by 200 pixel high square image. This is an official image that they need to use for the visa, and this picture has to go onto your NUSUK card that's printed. I actually should have brought it with me today. So the NUSUK card is your identification card, a little bit of your DOM pass that you walk around once you're in the Haram boundaries of Makkah. It allows you access to the Mashayir, Mina and Arafah, all the services of the Haram. And it has your picture on it with your passport number and details and who your service provider is. I had someone take their phone while they're sitting on their couch and take a picture like this, and you can see their kids running around in the background. And I had someone said, Yasin, my application was rejected. Please, can you tell me why? I said, okay, show me what you uploaded. And it's a picture of them all dolled up, standing in a wedding group picture, and there's like arms all around. You can't load pictures like this. It is a specific requirement to load a personal picture against a white background, just like you would for any visa or passport application. The other thing is people are literally taking their cell phones and taking pictures of their passports and trying to upload it. You can't do that. It has to be a specific format scan off that passport page. Their digital systems have to read the barcode at the bottom. It has to read the names and the numbers. All of that has to be legible. And that's been the main reason for failed verification at this stage. That's been one of the biggest challenges and a running joke at the moment, but we are dealing with it. I love injecting a lot of humor and lightheartedness when we engage. It just helps alleviate the stress Hujjaj go to. It's a tense journey as it is, and I love making them smile along the way.
Do you know, I think the seriousness, like how you do an ID or a car license or verification for something else, we need to do it exactly the same. And I think with the excitement and everything, we tend to forget about that. Brother Yaseen Khan, we will continue. We'll be taking a short ad break, and then we will link up with Reverend Frank Chikane shortly.
Time for a kitchen update? Head down to Simplex Radio's Black November sale. Get grilling with the Philips 6.2-litre air fryer at just $7.59. Save with the Media 20-litre microwave oven at only $6.99.
Bake up a treat with the Kenwood Home Bake Stand Mixer at just $17.99.
And have breakfast in style with the Smeg kettle or toaster now at the low price of just $25.99 each.
Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
Get ready to elevate your fitness game at First Fitness in Durban's Berea. With a spacious free weight area, award-winning equipment, and exclusive ladies-only parking and training level, we've got everything you need to crush your goals. Hit the ground running on our outdoor track or unleash your inner warrior in our MMA and boxing dungeon. Plus, enjoy high security and ample parking. And don't forget to refuel at our halal coffee and health restaurant for the best in coffees, smoothies, and healthy eats. Join us today and redefine your fitness journey. First Fitness, dare to be extraordinary.
Radio Ansaar.
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Ansaar, Durban 90.4 and Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sacoor. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Radio Ansaar, keeping you informed.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, welcome with News in Focus with me, SUMAYA Khan, co-host and hosted by Brother Yunus Sacoor. On this week's show, discussing NUSUK and the changes for South Africa, we just interviewed Brother Yaseen Khan, and we'll be continuing to interview him a bit later. And we're going to chat about the Palestinian refugees arriving in Johannesburg, South Africa, and the way forward. And we have members of the Ratepayers eTHEKWINI Association Delivery Service delivery in South Africa, in the province, coming all the way to the community. Now, as you know what was going on last week, many of us thought it was a joke. We thought it was some humanitarian going on. But when a flight landed to Johannesburg airport with Palestinians, citizens, everyone is still confused. There's investigations going on. What is really going on? So before I interview my guest, I just want to do a little time frame of what has happened, and then we can continue. So we're looking at the basic facts. A chartered flight with 153 Palestinians landed in South Africa. The plane arrived at Johannesburg OR Tambo International Airport from Nairobi, Kenya, after flying from Israel. Upon arrival, the passengers were held on the plane for about 12 hours. Many of them, lacked standard level travel documentations. No exit stamps from Israel, no return tickets, and in many cases, no confirmed address in South Africa. And so eventually, about 130 were allowed to enter on 90-day visa exempt status on humanitarian grounds after, local NGO, Gift of the Givers, offered to host them. So 23 others left South Africa for other destinations directly from the airport. Now, coming back home to the South African government investigation, our president, Cyril Ramaphosa, he confirmed that intelligence services are probing how the Palestinians came to South Africa. Via a stopover in Nairobi, there was the inadequate paperwork. How did they manage to come in? The foreign minister, Ronald Lamola, he expressed there's strong suspicions. This could be a part of a broader orchestrated agenda. Now, these are the updates coming from the recent investigation to clear Palestinians out. So, as I mentioned, orchestrate agenda to clear the Palestinians out of Gaza, the West Bank. Now, who organized these flights? How did this happen? One is questioning. We are going in circles, but I think every day something else is transpiring after the investigation. So, according to Palestinian embassy in South Africa, the flight was arranged by unregistered and misleading organizations, created humanitarian conditions, and collected money, and facilitated travel in an irregular manner. According to the source, Al-Majd organizer, buses from Gaza to Kiram, then onwards to Ramon Airport in southern Israel, from where the flight departed. So some Gazian Palestinian passengers actually paid about $2,000 per seat for the trip. And then we go and we question this here. Humanitarian concerns and backlash. The rights group and South African NGOs have raised alarm and concern that this could represent a coordinated displacement, forced migration of Palestinians under the disguise of evacuation. Look at that, how is it transpiring and where it's going to. What is not yet clear, and this is where all of us are still investigating, following media and waiting for the South African government to come up with more information. What is not yet clear, what is, the underlying question? Is it a malicious ethnic cleansing campaign? Though South African officials are suspicious. Some say they never know their destination until the very last minute. So imagine going somewhere in a plane and you don't know where you're going until the very last minute. This is quite a complex and sensitive case because on one level, it is a humanitarian issue, or on another level, is it a political issue? So how South Africa handles the investigation could set a precedent. Will they crack down on such flights, or will they treat them as purely humanitarian movement? So these passengers are currently being held and supported in South Africa on humanitarian grounds. But the two flights that came to South Africa, when you look at the Palestinians' profiles, their professions, they are doctors, teachers, IT specialists, academics, professionals, and business people. Now, one would say by removing them out of the country, when Palestine is rebuilding itself, who are going to be the doctors? Who are going to be the lecturers and universities, the academics? Where are going to be the professionals? What's going to happen? So these individuals were chosen to leave. So who is left in Gaza? No professionals, because 70% are actually deceased. So is it a bigger project of genocide? And that's the question, what we want to find out. And I'll be linking up right now with Reverend Frank Chikane. He's South African chapter of anti-apartheid movement against Israel's settler, colonial and apartheid regime. Welcome to News in Focus.
Thank you very much. And thank you to your listeners.
Okay, you are one of South Africa's most influential anti-apartheid leaders and a prominent voice in global justice movements. And if you are an activist, we all know who you are in South Africa. You have broad range. From my introduction, what you've heard, we're going to focus a little bit on those. questions. Reverend Chikane, you fought on the front lines of the anti-apartheid struggle. When you look at Gaza today, what parallels do you see between apartheid South Africa and what Palestinians are experiencing right now?
You know, I must say, I must start from the first time I visited Palestine, Israel, in 1988. It's a long time ago. And the chief rabbi here was quite progressive at that time, said to me, go and see for yourself. And I said, I would like to see both sides. And when I go to the Palestinians, the Israelis should not go there. I want to meet them alone because they are occupied in any way. So I did that. And I spent 2 days on each side. And then I was convinced after those 4 days that what I saw was worse than apartheid. It was worse than apartheid because it structured how Palestinians live. You know, we had apartheid here, but we're not occupied. You know, occupation is different from a colonial settlement, which is not occupation. And we had passed laws, controls, where you can go to school, where you can live, where you can work. But in their case, it's really just creating a large prison. They were put in a prison and they had no freedom of movement. I mean, there are even roads you can't travel on. Recently, when I was there, I got to understand even number plates of cars. People had to come and see me, Palestinians. Some came from Ramallah, some came from East Jerusalem. And those who had different number plates arrived on time. The others were late by 1 hour because a particular access point was closed. They had to go and find another way, and we waited. So that's more than apartheid. But let me say, in my visit to Europe recently, to try to understand why they support this genocide. And it became clear to me for the first time that actually South Africa, we came very close to genocide. But what saved us is that the world could not allow South Africa to violate all international law. They couldn't allow that. They still allowed apartheid and they supported them militarily. They did everything, but they couldn't allow them to break the law. With Israel, they can break all international law. I mean, I've never seen a thing that we see in Gaza to kill people the way they are killed. Even when you have got a ceasefire, they come and bomb you, and the world says absolutely nothing. And that's really the worst that the world has ever seen.
Do you know, Reverend, as a church leader and activist, how does your faith shape your understanding of the suffering in Gaza? Because this is a humanitarian issue. It's not a religious issue.
No. It has never been a religious issue, even when I was there. This is about a settler colonial regime. The Zionists consulted the imperialists and colonialists of the time in the 18th, 19th century, 20th century. And those colonialists agreed on a strategy to go and occupy Palestine, kill the Palestinians, remove them from their land, houses, etc. I mean, the more I read about 47 and 48, that was the worst form of terrorism. And they took the land and they didn't allow them any rights. And so that's really fundamentally different for me. And I've been dealing with the churches because we've been saying to the churches, how could you allow a thing like this? I mean, up to July this year, the World Council of Churches was still talking about balance between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and you must condemn both sides. I'm pleased that they crossed that line this June when they were in the Central Committee and recognized this for what it is. It is a settler colonial regime. It is a genocide conducted against people. And now they want to clear them out of Gaza to do the Trump thing, that they want to turn this place into a holiday place for themselves, but send the people of Gaza out of it and let them be refugees permanently, as we have refugees from 1948, 1967, and they are producing other refugees, and they don't allow you to come back home.
Reverend Frank, we're going to break for news and we'll continue with this discussion.
Radio Al-Ansar, 24/7, 365.
An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al-Ansar News.
Making news this hour, 19th of November. The news from Durban 90.4 FM, Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM. Police hunt suspect behind Newlands West heist. American morning now. KwaZulu-Natal police have launched a manhunt for armed group that carried out a cash in transit heist in Newlands West in Durban. Officers are investigating cases of cash in transit robbery and murder and also armed robbery. The gang allegedly blew up a cash van with explosives along the Newlands Expressway today. Paramedics say that several residents reported hearing an explosion and heavy gunfire near a local shop. 3 vehicles were damaged in the attack. One was hit by the blast and 2 others were struck by gunfire. KwaZulu-Natal police spokesperson Robert Netwanda says the suspect fled with an undisclosed amount of cash and valuables. Netwanda says that armed suspect reportedly jammed the cash delivery vehicle, fired shots towards the truck and dispossessed the security guard of his firearm. One security guard was injured during the incident and was taken to hospital. Netwanda says an off-duty police officer who was on his way home was also dispossessed of his firearm. More news, the South African Police Service says the protest at the G20 Leaders Summit this weekend at the Nasrec Expo Center south of Johannesburg will only be allowed in designated areas around the venue. This was announced during a media briefing by the National Joint Operational and Intelligence Structure on the Security Cluster's state of readiness to secure the summit. Several civil society groups are planning to hold demonstrations during the summit. Deputy National Commissioner for Police in Tebolo, Mosekidi, says those who fail to comply and attempt to cause disruptions during the summit will face the full might of the law. More news, Chief of Staff in the Police Ministry, Cedric Nkabinde, is back today before the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee. The committee is probing allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Hlanhla Mkhwanazi of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the justice system. Nkabinde is explaining how cases are handled, especially on certain drug busts.
If I'm not following what is written here, Chair, General Mkhwanazi engaged me about the very same matter. He actually engaged me and sent me this letter. Then he said, do you know anything about this letter? Does the minister knows? Then according to him, when he explained to me, he was not intending to. He was intervening to avoid unnecessary civil claims, that they rather take the drugs for testing, and also the way it was recovered, there was a possibility that probably it would have been planted by other people. So he did engage me about the matter, and hence, Honorable Skosana, I'm now using the word intervene. That is now on the basis of my engagement with him.
Back here in KwaZulu-Natal, the South African Democratic Teachers Union, SATU, in KwaZulu-Natal says while the Provincial Education Department has made progress in financial management, the real challenge will be whether schools actually receive the resources and support they need. SATU says it would welcome any improvement by the department to address ongoing issues. The KwaZulu-Natal Finance Portfolio Committee yesterday met and commended the department for what it called significant improvements in managing its finances. The committee says that during its 2025-2026 media budget and performance review, KwaZulu-Natal Education presented a detailed account of its performance, highlighting the progress it has made. The union says they want to gauge how these achievements translate into allocation of funds to school. Your weather, it's 22 degrees. A quick reminder of our top story. KwaZulu-Natal police have launched a manhunt for armed group that carried out a Cajun transit heist in Newlands West. That's the news.
Radio Ansaar, keeping you in the loop.
Maximizing Your Inner Self, a program focusing on emotional intelligence and personal development. Are you in control of your emotions, or are your emotions in control of you? Let's explore with Max Khan on Sundays at 12 p.m. to 12:45 p.m.
This segment is brought to you by Kenfield Auto, your RMI approved service and repair specialist. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Kenfield Auto.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا.
Car won't start?
Kenfield Auto.
Noisy brakes?
Kenfield Auto.
Due for a service?
Kenfield Auto. Kenfield Auto, the answer to all your car problems. Your service and repair specialist for your VW, Audi, Suzuki, Toyota, or just about any vehicle. Kenfield Auto, your RMI and insurance approved workshop to handle them all. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Call us on 031 207 2399. Kenfield Auto.
Every day, thousands go to bed hungry, but you can change that. With just 10 Rand, you can provide a loaf of bread. This bread is more than just a donation, it is a lifeline for so many families in need. Be part of the Al-Ansar Outreach Slice of Life drive today. Call Outreach on 031 208 1601 and make a difference one loaf at a time.
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Al-Ansar, Durban 90.4 and Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sacoor. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday, Radio Al-Ansar, keeping you informed.
तमन्ना है शहरों का सरदार देखूं मदीना की गलियां वो बाजार देखूं जहां भेज दी रब ने जन्नत बनाकर हबीबे खुदा का वो दरबार देखूं तरसती हैं आँखें जिन्हें देखने को वो गुंबद वो जाली वो मीनार देखूं गमों में गुजारी है ये जिंदगानी खुशी के वहाँ दिन मैं दो चार देखूं Allah 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 तन्हा हूँ मैं और इम्तिहान लाखों तने हैं सामने बैठा हूँ मैं मायूस कुन आए ना कोई मुझे थामने अल्लाह अल्लाह तू मेरी सुन ले सदा ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير मायूब हूँ तेरा करम पर्दा रखा इज्जत भी दी बढ़ के दिया औकात से दौलत भी ताकत भी और वक्त भी
کر دے خطا ہر معاف تو فہرست اسیاں کو چھوڑ دے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل حسبنا اللہ ونعم الوکیل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير رنگینیوں خود غرضیوں میں ہے گزاری یہ عمر ہے آرزو بس کہ یہی کر دوں تیرے نام شام و سحر تسکین دل حاصل کروں رخ اپنی جانب تو موڑ دے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير لب پہ رہے ذکر و دعا اور تجھ سے میں ڈرتا رہوں کر کے عمل قرآن پہ جنت کی راہوں پہ چلتا رہوں خدمت کروں اسلام کی پچھتاوے کا غم توڑ دے اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل المولى ونعم النصير روتا رہا سجدوں میں جو دل میں لیے امت کا غم پڑھتا رہوں میں تحفتاً اپنے نبی پہ درود ہر قدم ہو روح جب تن سے جدا جنت کی جانب چلے دوڑ کر اللہ اللہ تو میری سن لے صدا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, welcome back to News in Focus, hosted by Brother Yunus Sacoor and co-hosted by me, SUMAYA Khan. Before we could break for a nasheed break and the news, we were chatting with Reverend Fang CHIKANE. You know, he's one of the South Africans, a chapter of anti-apartheid movement. And we will also be linking up later with Dr. Barghouti. Right, Reverend, thank you. I appreciate your patience for holding on. Going back to our conversation, dissecting, recently South Africa received a chartered flight with 153 Palestinians under controversial circumstances. From your perspective, what concerns does this raise, especially as a South African and a leader?
Well, I must say that when I heard about it, I was very shocked. I do not understand how chartered flights can be put up and get people landing here without prior arrangements, without notification, and also move from Gaza in buses across the border into Israel, which means it was facilitated by the army, the genocidal army there, to get them into Israel. And they take off from an airport in Israel on a chartered flight. They even make them pay for it, which is quite amazing. And they take them to Kenya. And in Kenya, there's Lift Airline, which is also chartered, and they bring them here. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I can understand why it caused trouble at the beginning, because the border control officials couldn't treat it like a normal flight that has arrived here. And I am convinced that this is a Zionist Israeli project to take out Gazans from Gaza so that they can take over that land and let them be outside the land and will not allow them back, as they've done with many Palestinians. And this is of serious concern. I mean, to even go and take, I read about them coming with a limited baggage, and they were told to leave it at that airport. Same with children without nappies and etc. I mean, you couldn't be as West brutal than the Zionist Israelis are. And it concerns me greatly. I'm happy that, you know, South Africa, being South Africa, approached it from a humanitarian perspective, and the gift of the givers offered the services. But it could be a huge risk for South Africa. It could be a huge security risk, because you don't even know who's in that plane. And that's the problem.
Do you know, Reverend, Israel claims the passengers were approved to leave for a third country. Do you view this as a genuine humanitarian evacuation, or a strategy, or displacement?
It can't be humanitarian. How do a genocidal state be humanitarian? I mean, they're still bombing them even now. And so it can't be humanitarian. It had nothing to do with humanitarian activity. It had to do with evacuation and taking them out of that area because they want to take it over. Zionist project is to take over all of Palestine without the Palestinians. And that's the only objective. There can't be a humanitarian objective here.
You know, when we're coming back home to South Africans, should South Africans treat this incident as an isolated humanitarian event, or as part, you know, deeper political pattern involving Gaza? You have been involved during the apartheid era. So would you say this whole situation is a deeper political pattern?
No, it is actually. It's much more complex than people make it. They deliberately brought the people here to create a problem for South Africa. They know we've taken Israel to the International Court of Justice, and no one did that until we did it, and we're getting more support. They hate us for that. That's why President Trump is not even coming to the G20. The real issue has nothing to do with genocide against Afrikaners. It has to do with South Africa's stance against a genocidal Israeli settler colonial system. And so it can be humanitarian. I mean, that's out of question. It is meant to remove, because that's what they are saying. Their ministers say so. You know, the challenge about Israel is that they are so transparent. They don't respect any law. They tell the Palestinians in the West Bank that they must go. And so they gave them three options. You either submit, you die, or you go. Those are the three options, and they are very transparent. So there's no humanitarian activity from a Zionist Israeli state. It's impossible.
Do you know, if these flights are indeed part of a displacement strategy, what consequence should follow for the government's or group's responsibility? What procedure should we take? Your views?
No, in the first place, the airlines should pay for it. You know, I'm still waiting for a report to say, how did these two planes land here? Who gave them permission to land? What reasons did they give? And if you come with people who don't have proper documents, the airline normally gets fined. That's why if you don't have proper documents, they won't let you get board on their plane because it's costly for them. But in this case, they come and land here and they've not made arrangements. If you are getting people who are refugees living from one place to another, the game is different. I mean, they go to the nearest country. They don't go past another country before they land here as refugees. So I don't treat the Palestinians who are here as people who are looking for asylum, but it's people who are being bombed and we're trying to run away from there. And the very people who bomb them take advantage of them. So they are bombing them in any way to leave the place. That's what the intention is. So they must take responsibility. The airlines, the countries involved must take responsibility, particularly apartheid Israel.
Reverend Frank, as someone who has always stood for liberation, what message do you want to leave with our South African brothers and sisters and listeners right now about Gaza and global justice before we end off?
Yeah, the first thing we must do is to continue supporting our government to stand on that case at the International Court of Justice and show the world that it is not just the president or the minister or government but cabinet, but it is the people of South Africa. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we'll always treat anybody who is a refugee or seeking asylum in terms of international law, even if Zionist Israel creates a crisis. And you can see the way in which the matter has been handled. But I still want to indicate that it's a huge risk because you don't know who they've loaded in the plane before people land here. Normally they send a list, you know who's going to land on this flight, and therefore have checked in terms of security. So I think we need to make sure Israel doesn't continue moving Palestinians out of Gaza. What should happen is to stop them committing genocide against the Palestinians.
Reverend Frank Chikane, once again from News in Focus, thank you for being patient and linking up with us. May the Almighty continue with you with your activism and humanitarian work. Thank you so much for linking up with us.
Thank you very much.
That was Reverend Frank Chikane, South African chapter of anti-apartheid movement against Israel's settlers, colonial and apartheid regime. He was also one of the most influential anti-apartheid leaders and a prominent voice in global justice movement. We'll be taking a short ad break and then we will continue.
Radio Ansaar, 24/7, 365.
One child, one dream.
A journey with Africa Muslims Agency that began 3 years ago has changed the lives of Syrian and Palestinian refugee children beyond their dreams. Help them to continue their education by sponsoring a student at the Amman School of Excellence in Lebanon for 25,200 Rand per year. Education at Amman can provide a brighter future for refugee families.
AMA, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Hungry for a deal that hits the spot? Get the top duo deal. 2 large margarita pizzas plus 1 topping each for $1.99. Or go big or go home with the Bellissima duo deal. 2 large Bellissima pizzas for $2.69. Pure flavor perfection. And that's not all. The snack box combos are here. Your pizza boy's favorite pack to the ultimate munch box. Don't forget our daily lunch specials. Delicious, quick, and wallet friendly. Only at Pizza Boys. Taste that hits different. Pizza Boys, bring your va-va boom to your slice of life. Find your nearest Pizza Boys near you. Pizza Boys, we don't cut corners.
Durban Halal Meats, the butcher with a twist. Whether you're firing up the braai or stocking up for your business, we've got you covered. From premium lamb, beef and chicken to custom cuts and bulk orders, all 100% halal certified by Sanha. Enjoy our convenient buy and braai service, fast delivery and easy online ordering at durbanhalalmeats.co.za. Visit us at 84 Felix Dlamini Road, Durban Halal Meats. Quality, affordability, trust, meat made better.
Radio Al-Ansar, 24/7, 365.
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Al-Ansar, Durban 90.4 and Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sacoor. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Radio Al-Ansar, keeping you informed.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you to SUMAYA Khan for conducting that interview with Dr. Frank CHIKANE. Indeed, a very interesting interview. Some of the issues, for consideration is what our Minister, Ronald Lamola, is saying that, he raised alarm over the recent arrival of these Palestinians, saying that the pattern points to a clearly orchestrated operation. And he further went on to mention that at least 2 aircrafts carrying hundreds of Palestinians have already landed in South Africa. The flights were arranged by a little-known organization that critics is saying is working in tandem with Israel authorities, fueling concerns that forced displacement as being addressed as a humanitarian relocation. So South Africa has a challenge here, how to deal. They've given, these individuals a 3 months stay, within which the government will decide how to deal with them going forward. Now, I want to continue the interview with PRAHLADH. Ish, good evening and welcome to News in Focus.
Good evening to you and good evening to the listeners.
Now, Ish, your residents in reservoirs and the surrounds, the various ratepayers you represent,
yes,
are still raising concerns about service delivery. Now, recently, the city has taken a decision to make some senior appointments, particularly ethnic Msweli, the head water, as the executive director, of technical services, which cover a host of services. Now, we know ethnic, he was battling in the, Department of Water.
Correct.
But they felt that he will make a considerable difference in service delivery because it affects transport, human settlements, engineering services, which include sanitation and water, etc. Now, in the areas that you represent, not only Reservoir Hills, but you cover a host of areas. What is the current position from a ratepayer's perspective? Are you happy are you seeing any improvement, or is status quo the same?
Well, in certain parts of eTHEKWINI, there is improvement. On certain parts, there isn't. Okay, so we cannot say there's no improvement at all. There is definitely some improvement in certain areas in eTHEKWINI, and some of them are still an issue.
Now, the combined ratepayers that you're dealing with, which areas are they covering? So those listeners know that whether they agree with you or not. Can you just highlight to us? Because I know it's not only reservoirs and surrounds, but it's many other areas.
Okay, we cover right from Tongat, right up to Toti.
Right.
And then we do right up to Inchanga. And we do up on the south side as well, Bluff, etc.
So what improvements have you noted, since we have been receiving a string of complaints from potholes in roads, water outages, electricity outages? There's talks about, load shedding coming up in the weekend. I don't know whether that will happen. But, you can name every problem on service delivery it was raised. So which areas your ratepayer association have noticed an improvement? Because I know many ratepayer associations are raising a lot of concerns through the mayor's office. So which areas you seeing a difference?
Well, I live in Reservoir Hills, and we had a bad patch, especially with the flooding. Our bridges were destroyed, etc. But there's been definitely a big difference in our area.
In which aspects of service delivery?
Of the roads, the marking.
Are the potholes patched, or
potholes are being patched? The only biggest issue is, I think everybody has this issue. When a water department comes in and digs a hole, it takes them maybe 6 months to actually fill that hole. That's where the biggest problem is, that why do you have to have separate departments doing separate things? If a department from water came and fix the pipe, there should be the guys from roads following up immediately.
Patching up the roads.
Roads. And what happens is you have for 6 months, the road is stayed with sand, becomes a pothole again, and you start destroying cars, residents get annoyed, etc.
So there's no cohesion in the services that are being provided.
That's right.
Unlike the past.
No, unlike the past, if you dig a road, obviously you need to close the road. But here is you dig the road, you wait till 6 months to get the road fixed. But
you're creating another problem which wasn't there.
Correct. But recently in some of the areas, I'm not saying all, in some of the areas it has improved, and we noticed that they will come and dig up the road, and within that week it gets tarred. Certain places it is a little bit amazing, but most of the places is problematic.
Now that bridge that was collapsed in Varsity Drive, I see it's still same. Nothing's being done.
No, well, what they actually that's true. There's nothing being done, but what they actually came and just did part of the road. They did where the actual buses come in, etc. But we still have issues with water on that Varsity Drive bridge. Whenever there's a rain, it's just flooded. The cars can't go through. And that section, although it's been cleaned and it's been done very nicely with retaining blocks, etc., lights are on, etc., but that section where the water pipe was damaged, where the water pipe is exposed, really needs to be sorted out. And it's taking too long.
Now, you come from a security background, and crime has been on the increase, particularly in lots of those areas that you represent.
Correct.
Is that getting progressively worse, or is Metro Police and SAPS, with all these investigations going on, are getting on top of their game? Is there an improvement?
No, you know what? I think there's a very big improvement of giving our people fines, right? They will go to all our malls, they'll stand off, and the funny part of it is that they would prefer going into the Indian areas and giving fines.
You give them 9 out of 10 for that work.
9 out of 10 for that.
But to apprehend criminals and deal with criminal activities, you give them about 3 out of 10.
That's correct. But the giving fines is top notch for them, right? And especially you tell them, guys, we've got a big problem with all those 20 taxis there. We've got a big problem with the Ubers here. Please, can you sort that out? Nope, nothing's been done about that. Oh yes, giving fines to our people is amazing.
Now, the other problem in and around the different wards is this so-called paraparas, or you call them, guys that are sort of guiding cars from the parking areas. And a lot of these guys are drug addicts and thugs that grab cell phones and create havoc. And when you walk into the different areas, there's a fear of mugging towards the centers, outside the centers. Is there any sort of attention being given by Metro Police and SAPS, or is that getting progressively worse as well?
No, it's getting progressively worse, because if you go into all the areas, mainly at where the malls are, where the traffic lights, you'll see beggars there, you'll see the amparas, and you know what, we have ladies driving, going into the supermarket, buying stuff. And when they come out of a supermarket, imagine you've got an ampara standing there and begging. You could break the window. You could see that.
Or he grabs the cell phone and runs, and you go on.
Cell phone and run. It's not getting better. I mean, there should be a way where we can avoid all these amparas standing at traffic lights and begging. Not only amparas, you got a lot of other people standing and begging as well.
And these pose a security risk.
Very big security risk. Very big.
And many of them are lurking around the shopping centers and various other places with the pretense of guiding cars, and those are the thugs.
Correct. Those are the biggest thugs.
And you're saying both Metro and SAPS are not interested in getting involved.
I don't know what's the protocol on actually moving them out. If you are begging, can you lock them up? Or can you move them out and give them a warning? You see, the problem is, give them a warning and let them. If they do not move out, you have to remove them. It's causing a panic at traffic lights.
Now, are you all, as ratepayer associations, raising it with SAPS and security services?
Yeah, no, we are raising it, but we do have some good assistance from SAPS Sydenham whenever we have a problem. Metro Westwood helps us as well.
Are they overwhelmed that they can't deal with the degree of problems in the different areas?
I think that's where the biggest problem is. You must remember Reservoirs has a satellite station.
Right.
Okay, we have it open only from certain time to certain time. Okay, we understand they got staff shortages, etc. But we built the satellite to run on a 24-hour basis. We have the vans there so they can get closer to the client and quicker to the client. But it's always staff allocation. That is the biggest problem.
Now tell me, I mean, you in this game of chairing ratepayer associations, being a chair of combined ratepayers. I've got Abdul Valodia in the studio, chair of OPOD ratepayers associations. In those chat groups, I see a lot of comments coming through and there's response, particularly with OPOD ratepayers, because people are raising issues and then somewhere along the line they're saying, raise it with the call center and other places, and then within hours you get response. How's the response in your area with your group chats, particularly with water outages, electricity outages, and other problems? Are you getting response from the call centers and the departments in the municipality?
Yes, actually we are. I'll be honest, we are getting response and seems to be getting better. And especially the actual municipality, the municipality chat, we do get answers from the quite quickly.
Now, what's your advice to our listeners out there? Because I'm sure you got a small percentage of people joining the ratepayer associations, but many people are just waiting for things to happen, and it's not going to happen. So what's your advice to our owners and residents in the areas? Many of them are listening. Why should they be civic active? Because they're paying rates and they want services for those rates, even verges to be cut, and roads to be dealt with, and crime to be dealt with, and various other services which the municipality is not conducting. What's your advice to our owners out there?
Well, I'm actually saying to all the ratepayers, all the residents, join your local ratepayers group. You are one of the strongest individuals to fight the municipality. If you do not join hands with your ratepayers group, you are wasting your time, because you're not going to get any answers. The bigger the ratepayers association group will have a big voice in the municipality.
And what you're saying is that you want to hold the departments in the municipality to account to deal with service delivery challenges.
Correct.
Now, in terms of this debt relief program that has been extended till 31st January, we spoke about it a few programs ago. A lot of listeners are writing in to ask where the councillors are au fait, because one or two councillors attended the sessions, but when they're trying to contact them, they're non-contactable, because I'm not sure whether councillors are aware of the policy, because people need guidance. Many of them don't know the procedure. They're sitting with areas. Potentially, they're going to get a 50% write-off on areas as of 31st January.
Correct.
What is your ratepayers associations and advice to the people in reservoirs and surrounds in terms of the debt relief program?
Well, I'm telling the people should know the debt relief program is good, but it's not good if you do not watch your water meters, if you do not watch your electricity meters. Take your own meter readings and go to the municipality and watch your meter readings, because the billing system is still not 100%. So your bills are not going to be correct. But if you take your meter readings and check your meter readings monthly, you can monitor your meter readings. Remember, the debt relief may be not your debt. The estimated charges works like this. On your road, they take three people's houses and estimate for the whole road. So that means if you got 2 people in your house, you're paying for 5 people. So take your meter readings for electricity and water and hand to the municipality, and make sure you keep proof of it. And then you will monitor your account. Otherwise, you'll be paying other people's debts.
There's a question from you from Sister Shaida Bibi. She says, Brother Sacoor, I have a water account of 300,000. I went to Prior Road, that is the water division, for a few months, but nothing came of it. I emailed the councillor awaiting a reply. Please help.
Okay. Did you go to Prior Road?
Yes, she said she went to Prior Road. 300,000. She's got a water account. Either she's got an underground leak or they read a meter incorrectly. So what's your advice to her? You said she reads a meter and forward it to Prior Road. Yeah. Now, a lot of people, these meter readers, they just take a chance. They just guess the reading. And in her case, 300,000. It's a shock. You know, a reservoir of water she's consuming.
Which area she's in?
She hasn't given us the area. Perhaps you can leave your number. She can contact you. Yeah. Abdul will leave his number. I'm going to put him on the line because he's from the OPOD ratepayers. Okay. We need to help these residents because, I mean, you'll get a heart attack with a 300,000 bill. And you know what they do? If you don't pay, they disconnect you. And also, if she goes for a debt relief, they're going to say pay 150,000. She may be a pensioner or somebody that's hardly earning any money.
Correct.
So Prior Road, they're a world unto themselves. Same with Florence Mkize.
Correct.
What's your advice? And I'll bring Brother Abdul in.
Well, the best thing is to get hold of your counselor in your area. Whoever the counselor is in your area is supposed to be helping you. And if that counselor is not helping you, get hold of your Ratepayers Association in your area, or either get a hold of myself or Abdul.
Ish, if you can give your number, quite what you call in a slow way to this individual, so she can phone you and you can put them into the right area counselor. Can you just give us your contact number?
Okay, my cell number is 083-480-2955, and it will be advisable if you WhatsApp me all your details, because we get a lot of calls. But if you WhatsApp me, I can definitely help you.
Now, Ish gave that number because he covers his combined ratepayers. Abdul, if you can just come in, what's your advice to the listener? You from the Overport, Asherville and Springfield area, and you cover a host of other areas. What's your advice to this listener? Sister Shayda Bibi, she's listening. She'll send this WhatsApp.
Sure.
Welcome, Abdul, and comment.
Assalamu alaikum.
Islam.
That's a shock of a bill, 300,000 rand for a normal householder. Even as you stated, 150,000. If you're going to be 50% of that amount, you still can't afford it. The advice is that obviously, she needs to go back to the municipality, take her current reading that she has, and submit her reading to the municipality and say, listen, guys, I don't know how this bill has actually come up. And furthermore, what I'd like to know from her is that bill something that's been built for the last few years. Or was that something just happened overnight? Because I don't think it'll be something overnight would have just come up 300,000, and that doesn't sound right-ish.
No, it doesn't sound right. Yeah.
That could be a possibility. Could have been built over the last few years, and it would have accumulated with interest and so forth and so on. But the best thing is to take it back to the municipality, and as you mentioned, contact the councillor, contact the ratepayers associations, and work from there. And obviously somebody along the side could help her, and I'm sure there will be good results coming out of that.
Abdul, can you give your contact details so that if she's living in the vicinity of the Overport area, you can give her guidelines? Because you're quite right, she should send a bill to the water division, but sometimes you can't get the right officials there unless you go to the head water or somebody that you know. And I'm sure, Abdul, you've been interacting with these people.
Yes.
If Abdul can give his number, Sister Shayda Bibi,
sure.
I'm sure they'll try to assist you, because it's a ridiculous amount, and I don't think it's pleasant to have an account which obviously you haven't used, and you can't have an underground leak of that nature. Plus, the insurance expects you to repair. You can't have it for 12 months and then they lump you with the bill. So, Abdul, if you can just give your contact details, please.
Sure. My number is 083 490 6551. 083 490 6551.
On that note, we'll take a short break. We're trying to get hold of Dr. Barghouti Mustafa to continue a discussion with him on this Palestinian issue. We'll take a break, and inshallah, if we can get him, we'll have a chat with him after the break.
Radio Ansaar.
Durban, get ready for something fresh. Wednesday, 26 November, the Culinarium opens its brand new store at Musgrave Centre. Step into a world of premium kitchenware, home essentials, appliances, gadgets, and so much more, all crafted to elevate your cooking experience. And to celebrate the grand opening, we're dropping exclusive opening specials you won't want to miss. Whether you're a home chef, foodie, baker, or love stylish living, the Culinarium Musgrave has something waiting for you. Join us Wednesday, 26 November for the official grand opening. The Culinarium, where great kitchens begin.
Plan your dream holiday with the specialist World of Travel, as we pride ourselves in offering you the best in HAJJ and UMRA. We also offer travel packages to the Middle East, Far East, and many more exotic destinations. Call our professional travel consultants now on 031 20 888 77 or view our website www.worldoftravel.co.za. Visit us at 44 Crescent Street as memorable journeys begin with World of Travel by Irshad Malik.
It's back. Simplex Radio's Black November sale. Bigger and better. Get your hands on the Samsung 70-inch LED TV at only 9,999, saving a massive 3,000 Rand. Plus, we'll throw in a free soundbar.
Save 2,000 Rand on the Sinotech 65-inch LED TV at only 5,999.
Sinotech 32-inch LED TV now at a bargain price of just 1,699.
And get the Hisense 43-inch Full HD Smart TV at a low of 3,499.
Deals are limited. Simplex Radio,
The name you can trust.
Elevate your style with Al-Noor kurtas and fragrances from Potent Eyes Perfumes, exclusively available at Ansaar shop. Visit us at 207 West Road or call 031-208-1601. Experience the best in fashion and perfumery. Ansaar shop where elegance meets fragrance.
You know what really gets under my skin? When my cake or icing just doesn't come out right. It's such a bummer. But I found this incredible margarine called Wooden Spoon, and it's been a total lifesaver for my baking adventures. It makes my icing turn out just perfect every time. When I whip up something with Wooden Spoon, I feel like a master baker. Seriously, my cakes have never looked better. The secret? Wooden Spoon margarine. It's like the magic ingredient for nailing those perfect bakes. And guess what? It's even endorsed by the South African Bakers Guild Association. Just another quality product from the Willowton Group.
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Al-Ansar, Durban 90.4 and Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sacoor. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday, Radio Al-Ansar, keeping you informed.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to News in Focus live on Radio Al-Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM, and streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Before the break, we were chatting briefly with Reverend Chikane, and thereafter we chatted with PRAHLADH, who gave us some insight into what's happening, where the service delivery is improving, and dealt with some of the challenges in the water and other departments and how to handle the issues. We also briefly dealt with the issue of the debt write-off, and you cannot have a 300,000 debt with a 150,000 write-off, but you don't have monies to repay. So I'm saying queries like that we have to raise with our ratepayers associations and our councillors. But I want to bring back YASEEN Khan, the head of Pilgrim Experience for TWF HAJJ. YASEEN recently attended a conference in Saudi Arabia, and he's come back with a lot of fresh ideas from Saudi. And, obviously, YASEEN, welcome back. Scholarly spiritual guides under the new NUSUK model. Can you just explain to us that it's been reported that few South African scholars, ulama, alims, will be approved through NUSUK to accompany pilgrims compared to the traditional Hajj Affairs Office model. This raises concerns about spiritual support on the ground. What is TWF doing to ensure that pilgrims still have access to trusted, culturally aligned religious guides during the Hajj? Because I know in the past, SAWAK used to send, a whole lot of mission workers out there, and then you had various travel agents sending ulama to guide. So now what is the position? Because, I know SAWAK is trying to become a guide somewhere along the line, to which travel agents are saying, now you're coming back to square one, you want to become a travel operator, and that's not within your mandate. That's a separate discussion. We'll have to deal with it. But in terms of support on the ground, how would the travel agents provide the necessary support? Because NUSUK, people apply in different platforms with different travel agents, and they could be dispersed during the 5 days of Hajj, not necessarily in a South African camp.
Okay. So let's start from the beginning. The role of SAWAK was never to provide alims or spiritual guidance or support to the Hujjaj. Their role was a facilitator and an oversight during the journey. The primary role and function of the travel agent who oversaw the group of Hujjaj, it was their role as mission workers and khadims to facilitate them on a day-to-day basis. The travel agent or the service provider, the local South African service provider, based on their region, or if they had a local footprint or if they had a national footprint, they would then obviously look at providing alims based on the madhab and region that they were in. TWF, for example, has a national footprint. So we had alims that covered both Shafi, Hanafi, Hanbali, Maliki. we had alims that covered the full spectrum of the requirements, based obviously Cape Town, Johannesburg, Durban, and the surrounding areas. The NUSUK system, right? And again, you touched on something now that people are scattered. They're not scattered. I think, and when this whole debacle started and we went on air, and I was on air with you with Sheikh Saban, there's been a concerted drive and an effort by certain sectors in the community to spread misinformation. And certain touch points and talking points and phrases and words are being used to stir up emotions. We are a sensationalist community. We love to latch on to we like to cherry pick certain bits of information. Like we talk about, oh no, the quota has been dropped to 1,140. Things were better before. The quota hasn't been dropped. We've been capped. But on the NUSUK system, and I've repeated this on multiple platforms, we belong to a global pool of visas, and inshallah, we will send more than what we used to send. Coming back to, oh, the South Africans are all alone and no one's with them. Guys, come on. We are here, it's an amanat, it's a trust upon us as a community, as service providers, to be able to instill confidence in the community. Stop using words to instill fear. You are not alone. They are not scattered. They are in the same. There's only two camps on the NUSUK system, the Muasim camp and the Al-Kapsh camp. The Muasim camp is the entry-level camp, and the Kapsh camp is the more expensive camp. One is further from the Jamarat, one is closer to the Jamarat. Currently, until the ministry announces who the final list of service providers are, they said after 36 hours to a week after the conference, we all on tenterhooks waiting to see who the final announcement is. For example, TWF HAJJ, we have signed. We know who we've signed with. We can't make the announcement. We were asked not to make the announcement yet. We know who our partner is. We will develop our packages like we used to, 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and onwards. Every pilgrim that chooses a package on the NUSUK system that has been built by TWF HAJJ will be grouped, facilitated, served, managed, transported, and provided guidance by our mission team in conjunction with our service provider in Saudi Arabia. That includes the Khadims, that includes the Alims. So they're not alone, they're not scattered. And again, these phrases about being alone on the days of Hajj is again instilling fear in the community. They're not alone. There will always be someone there with you. And we had this thing, oh no, South Africans, oh, we want to be together in our camp. Hajj is supposed to be a unifying factor for the globe. We're supposed to be removing this nationalist concepts and this tribalist mentalities. So what if you're with someone else? That being said, South Africans who choose to travel with TWF HAJJ or any other service provider, they will then, based on their package, be grouped in the camp in a allocated space together. They are not alone, they are not separated, they are not scattered. And shall I
so,
that?
Yasin, going back, 20, 25, 30 years ago when there was no SAOK, and the same system used to apply, travel operators used to take their pilgrims, book them all in a hotel close by, put them in a bus, go to a camp. They were all together. So that's no different now.
It's no different.
So people mustn't get afraid that they're going to be scattered. And number two, whatever packages they can afford, those travel agents will give them those packages and take care of them there. Now, the quota, obviously, people are worried, 1140. Saouk said that they had the number of 2.5 plus an extra, and they used to put people on the waiting list, etc. Are they going to be disadvantaged given that the quota has dropped from 2.5 to 114? And you mentioned briefly that that's not the be-all and end-all. It could be more than the 2.5 as well. Do you worry that many South African Muslims, especially from low-income or historically marginalized communities, will be priced out or find it harder to compete? What is being done to mitigate this?
Hajj is expensive. Hajj is always going to be expensive. If Hajj was cheap, it would be Umrah. You could go any time of the year. And I think this mindset that it's a fard. Everyone has it in their yearning to perform Hajj. And I'm going to give a blunt, cold answer to this, because as a community, we need to start facing realities, and we need to start accepting that there are certain fundamentals that govern the decisions we make. The cost of Hajj is built up of multiple aspects. And the cost of a person's package is determined by the choices they make as an individual for what they want. A package can cost 90,000 Rand per person, including flights, or it can cost 400,000 Rand per person, including flights. Again, dialing back down, our community as a country has raised their expectations and their standards to such a point that they're not willing to compromise on certain things. And I don't mean compromise in a bad way. We want to be in frontline hotels. We want to be within, throwing distance of the haram. We don't want to be anywhere else. This is how we've developed ourselves as a community. And that is not what the rest of the world does. For example, Yunus, we had a package last year, and majority of these travel agents, not last year, this year, but this is Hajj, had budget packages that cost about 80,000 Rand for a 4-week or a 5-week journey, which is a long journey, including flights, including the camp fees, including all the transport, including all the food and the extra meals and the value-added services. This particular package was in the Courtyard by Marriott. It's a shuttle-based hotel on Ajat Street. It's about 7 kilometers from the Haram. It's a stunning hotel. I've stayed here. My family has stayed here. If you're looking for an affordable stay in Makkah, especially during peak seasons, this hotel works very well. It's a upper 4-star hotel. It's a Marriott property. We had 6 people choose the 6 people choose this package. Out of the over 1,100 people we took for Hajj, we had 4 people choose this package. The cheapest package available, 4 people chose it. Got to the end where we were deciding, now how do we manage this? We decided as a company we were going to upgrade them to the Anjum Hotel, which is closer, the Doubletree Hotel. It was easier for us as a team to manage them, having all the hotels.
So you gave them the benefit of the higher cost at the lower cost.
Yeah. Again, everyone's saying, oh no, Hajj is too expensive, Hajj is for the rich. Hajj is what you want it to be. Hajj costs what you want it to cost. And the mindset, oh no, travel agents used to rip us off and everyone's making it. People don't complain about when they're going to buy a brand new car. VW Polo 20 years ago was, 114,000 Rand? You can't pick up a Polo now for more than, 350? No one complains about that. They don't complain about the cost of bread. But we want inflation. We'll spend 20,000 Rand to fly to Cape Town in December. Any other time off peak season, it's 1.5 to 2,000 Rand. Costs are relative. Hajj is expensive.
Now, Yasin, just one final question. A lot of people were on that waiting list in Sauk, waiting to be accredited. That falls away.
Mm-hmm.
They waited for 10 years. Obviously, they want to get in for Hajj this year. Many of them are not IT or tech savvy to know how the NUSUK system works. The system is now open for applications.
Mm-hmm.
What's your advice to those programs? Because many of them may have the funds, may have the means, but they're waiting for something to happen. What's your advice to them?
Okay, so if someone is not familiar with the system or is not au fait with the processes or the technology behind it, okay, I'm not going to use the word technology because, again, I'm doing a disadvantage to the community. The system behind it or how to apply. If you're unaware, the knowledge is freely available, the guidance is freely available. TWF Hajj, it's World of Travel, Travel and Tour World, and Fly World Travel. We have offices nationwide. If you
now
not
to simplify it, in the past, I'm going to now relate it to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That a couple of months before Hajj, an individual had the means and the funds to go. All he or she does go to the travel agent
Mm-hmm.
and says, I want to go for Hajj this year. This is my budget. Please book flights for me and then let me see whether I can go. And then the travel agent goes in, check the bookings, etc. It was simple then, but I'm saying you have a parallel situation now where we know Hajj is in a couple of months' time.
Mm-hmm.
They come to any office, including your office, and they say, right, listen, I'm ready to go for Hajj. I was on the waiting list. Unfortunately, now it's being scrapped. What would advice you'll give them to facilitate for them to get into that NUSUK platform to go for Hajj?
So to finish what I was saying,
Finish what you're saying, and then you can answer this question.
And if you're not happy with it, or if you're not comfortable with TWF HAJJ, there are other service providers who are registered or who are applying to be.
You're just giving them the model how it works.
You can go into our offices. You can go into anyone's office who is familiar with the system, who has been trained on the system, and it's a free service to the community. Our staff will help you register. Our staff will help you with your profile, help you get verified, show you how to wait. There's 3 phases, which we've touched on before. It's the verification phase, it's the package phase, and then it's the sales phase. The only thing we cannot help you with is the sales phase. On that day, it's first come, first serve. Now, going back to what you mentioned about in the past, if someone was accredited and they had the funds and they came out on the SAOK's lists and they came to Subhanallah, you accredited for Hajj, you've waited enough time, you come into the office, you sit down, we discuss your packages, we help you choose your package. We then, on the old NUSUK Masar system, which was the mission-based system, we would then physically type in, this is the pilgrim, this is his passport number, this is his passport photo. We would fill in the vaccination card information. We would do all the bits and pieces. It was a manual system that we did. With the NUSUK system, it's now a direct system. It's now with the responsibility of the Hujjaj to do that. So if someone isn't familiar with that, come through to the office. We'll help you. We'll teach you about that. To expand upon the thing about someone having the money and the funds available.
Now, when will that individual know whether he's been granted, a visa to go for Hajj?
There's no granting of visas. There's no list.
Then how will that individual know whether he's able to go?
So let me get to that now. So there's no lists. There's no accreditation. There's no waiting. Right now, all there is registering on the NUSUK system, which is a first stage to registering your intent, completing the relevant phases, and then standing a chance to purchase a package. So NUSUK is now a platform that's almost like a staging ground that will test your constitution. I don't know, constitution. It's going to test you. It's going to test your grit. Are you actually ready to go for Hajj? Are you capable to go for Hajj? Do you have the funds? Can you load your wallet? Now you stand a chance to buy a package when the sales phase opens up.
So when can they load their wallet?
Okay, so right now packages are getting verified. The ministry hasn't allowed the active. Some people have activated their wallets. I've had a couple of my friends who've loaded their funds already on standby. But then the wallets have stopped being activated until packages go live. Once packages go live, potential Hujjaj can view the available offerings. They can load it to their cart or their profile. They can configure any additional services they want, and then they can see that's how much it's going to cost me. If it's 2 people, that's how much it's costing me. If I've got 4 people in my family, I want 1 single room, that's what it's going to cost me. I say, okay, no, wait, I want a room and my brother and his wife want a room. They can have the cost adjusts accordingly based on the requirements of the applicant and their family needs. They have their final figure. They then have from that date to the start of the sales period to ensure that they load those funds into their NUSUK wallet. Now, the NUSUK wallet is a secure IBAN account. It's an international secure verified account. They're transferring their funds from South African rands into reals. So people need to be aware that when they're using their cards or they're doing an EFT, they need to notify their banks that they're transferring funds from a South African bank account in South African rands to a Saudi-based account, which belongs to them, right, in reals. So they're buying Forex effectively. They're doing a Forex transaction. Once the funds are loaded, they should wait. Once the sales period launches. Now, we've heard, when we were at the conference, we had an opportunity to sit with service providers from the UK, from Australia. We sat down with them and we spoke to them and we talked about those questions that people aren't aware of at this point, but it was good because we have, as service providers, we sit and we get asked these questions every day, and it's a responsibility on us to be able to guide the Hujjaj or the potential Hujjaj accurately and give them confidence. So we ask these odd questions to see how things work. And what time does it go live on tentatively the 20th of January? Is it 8 o'clock in the morning? Is it 9 o'clock? Is it midnight, the night, on the 5th? Do we sit up and wait? They said the ministry will announce it beforehand, but on the average between 11 and 12 o'clock. So we're hoping they stick to the time. So on that date, that is when you log on. That is when you clear your schedule. You make sure no one's disturbing you. You log on. Once your OTP comes in, click purchase. That's it. Don't try and configure your package. Don't try and change anything, because the more time you waste on the sales period, configuring or changing, the less chance you have of securing your visa.
So your final advice to our pilgrims, if they got any problems, they should go to travel agents who are quite okay with the system to assist them get on board and then take it from there.
Yeah.
Okay, Yaseen, thanks very much for joining us. Some valuable
Always a
information you've shared with us. As we agreed that whenever there's an update, you will join us and
keep you
assist
guys
our
updated
pilgrims.
always.
Because many of them are concerned. In the past, everything was made easy for them. Now it's getting a bit more, not necessarily complex, but a little bit more awkward for them. And a lot of these pilgrims that want to go are elderly people as well, and they're not so au fait with the IT systems, etc. And maybe the kids can assist them, but better they with the travel agents, because from A to Z,
alone,
the travel agents.
Again, you mentioned something good. There are always people in the family who will be able to assist you with something. And there's always service providers who will be able to assist you with this. And I want to reiterate, no one is alone on this journey. You are always supported. You are always guided.
Jazakallah. Yaseen, thanks very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you and your team to really assist our pilgrims out there. And as the saying goes, if it's your call, you will make it there, no matter what people say. And we wish you everything of the best, but feel free to give us updates as and when our listeners need to know. Shukran for joining us, and all the best.
Jazakallah khair.
It was the brother Yaseen Khan, from TWF. He attended the conference. He shared some very valuable information with us. Do we take another break? We take another news break, and then we'll continue with our discovery with our finance man. He waited quite a while here. He played soccer, so he's resting. Brother HASSAN MOTALA, inshallah, will continue after him.
Radio Al-Ansar, 24/7, 365.
Durban Halal Meats, the butcher with a twist. Whether you're firing up the braai or stocking up for your business, we've got you covered. From premium lamb, beef and chicken to custom cuts and bulk orders, all 100% halal, certified by Sanha. Enjoy our convenient buy and braai service, fast delivery and easy online ordering at durbanhalalmeats.co.za. Visit us at 84 Felix Dlamini Road, Durban Halal Meats. Quality, affordability, trust. Meat made better.
Kunutu Nazila is proudly brought to you by Nona's Italian Kitchen, Strata Street Food, and the Magnum Capino Treat Store. Oh Allah, guide me and grant me well-being with those whom you have granted well-being.
اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك وإنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت.
Kunutu Nazila is proudly brought to you by Nona's Italian Kitchen, Strata Street Food, and the Magnum Capino Treat Store. Oh Allah, guide me and grant me well-being with those whom you have granted well-being.
Audio stream across the world on radioalansar.co.za.
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Al-Ansar, Durban 90.4 and Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sacoor. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday, Radio Al-Ansar, keeping you informed.
तमन्ना है शहरों का सरदार देखो मदीना की गलियां वो बाजार देखो जहां भेज दी रब ने जन्नत बनाकर हबीबे खुदा का वो दरबार देखो तरसती हैं आंखें जिन्हें देखने को वो गुंबद वो जाली वो मीनार देखो गमों में गुजारी है ये जिंदगानी खुशी के वहाँ दिन मैं दो चार देखूं.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, welcome back to News in Focus with me, SUMAYA Khan, and the host, Brother Yunus Sacoor. We are linking up with Brother Khalid Vauda, Social Intifada. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
As you're aware, what's currently happening, we recently saw a plane carrying 153 Palestinians arrive in South Africa under very unusual circumstances. You were on the ground at the airport. From your knowledge, what can you tell us? You were there with them. I believe you went home quite late.
It's been a busy few days since Thursday when the arrival came through. There's been a lot of, we finished quite late on Thursday, alhamdulillah. A lot of the organizations and civil society stepped forward to assist. So very briefly, there were 153 passengers who arrived on a chartered flight from Nairobi to Johannesburg. All of them were Palestinians. All of them were from Gaza. All of them had valid travel documents. This needs to be emphasized because there's a narrative in the media and in some fear-mongering circles that's stating that people have no documentation. This is untrue. They all have valid passports. The item that was missing in their passports was an exit stamp from occupied Palestine, because they were flown out from an Israeli airport through the Kerem Shalom crossing in occupied Palestine to Nairobi and then onwards from there to South Africa. Many of these passengers didn't know they were coming to South Africa. They were under the impression that they're flying on to Indonesia or Malaysia, which is what they had originally applied for. So when they arrived here, Border Management Authority didn't allow people to get off the airline. The aircraft was grounded and stayed on the tarmac for 12 hours. All of the passengers remained on board. Groups, civil society tried to assist by getting food, water, and drinks on the plane for the people. Because obviously there were children on board, there were elderly on board, there were pregnant women on board. The situation was quite becoming untenable, and until Ronald Lamola, Minister of DIRCO, and State President Cyril Ramaphosa stepped in to encourage Home Affairs to allow the passenger safe entry into South Africa, because generally when Palestinians do arrive in South Africa, they receive a 90-day visa, and they're allowed to stay in South Africa for 90 days. So that's been the situation since Thursday. There have been a lot of stories swirling in the media about the authenticity of the guests and the flight routes and all of those. But there's two elements to this. The immediate element that we're dealing with in South Africa is that we've got visitors on our doorstep who have fled a genocide and who have fled a war zone. And it's an intentional genocide. It's by design that people have had to leave Gaza. This was purely down to the barbarity of the Israeli regime, which has ensured that Gaza is unlivable, uninhabitable. All basic services have been destroyed. Buildings have been destroyed. Hospitals are dysfunctional for those that are still standing. There are no schools. Mosques have been destroyed. People's homes have been destroyed. So for those who could manage to, they sought to seek an opportunity elsewhere temporarily until they are able to go back to Gaza. Absolutely none of the people want to leave their homeland permanently. Nobody wants to leave their homeland permanently. So they have been taken care of by civil society in South Africa. And again, another false rumor that's being spread by certain quarters within South Africa to create fear-mongering is that they are living off taxpayer money. It is completely untrue. All of the assistance provided for the Palestinians who've arrived in South Africa has been done so by civil society, by NGOs, Gift of the Givers, Caring Women's Forum, two of the leading organizations that are assisting here. Many community members from Johannesburg stepped forward to assist with accommodation, to assist with food, to assist with clothing. People left Palestine. They weren't allowed to take their clothing with. They weren't allowed to take rucksacks with. The Israelis made them leave all of these behind. They were only allowed to carry their mobile phones, no chargers either, just their mobile phones, the clothing on their backs, and whatever cash they had in their pockets. So as Muslims, it is our duty to assist people who are at our doorstep. These are our brothers and sisters in Islam. And the community has been absolutely fantastic in assisting all of the brothers and sisters who decided to stay on. Of the 153, immediately, I think it was about 24, 27 people decided to transit out and move on to other destinations. And in the days that have followed since Thursday, a few others have left South Africa as well for other destinations. But for those who are here, they are here legally. They are not taking any money from the taxpayer. They've got 90 days within which they can decide if they want to apply for status in South Africa, if they just want to visit, or if they want to continue their journeys elsewhere. It's quite important to note as well that this was the second of 2 flights. The first flight that had arrived in South Africa was at the end of October, on the 28th of October. And that had about 160 Palestinians on the flight. Those Palestinians, nobody was notified about them. There wasn't the same issue created by Border Management Authority, which we have now, despite the passengers on the first plane also not having exit stamps in their passports. So we've got some question marks for Border Management Authority. We've got some question marks, and society needs to raise this. Journalists need to raise this. We're hoping Ansaar does that as well. We need to question Border Management Authority and Home Affairs as to why the first plane load was processed without any issue, but the second plane load specifically was held back, and there was a big media uproar about it globally. Was this something that was intended by dark forces? We absolutely believe that this was intentional by the Zionist forces within South Africa, as well as by the Israelis, to try and embarrass our government, which has been leading the charge at the ICJ against Israel, which has hauled Israel before the World Criminal Courts. And on the one hand, the image being painted by Israelis, and you would have picked this up from Israeli accounts and from pro-Zionist accounts within South Africa and abroad, who were quick to jump on the fact that South Africa is claiming that it supports Palestinians, but it's leaving Palestinians stranded on the tarmac for 12 hours. So this was intentional. It was timed because the G20 summit is happening this week in Johannesburg as well. All of this was carefully crafted by the Zionist forces to try and cause more harm to the South African government. But thankfully, our government's one step ahead. And we've got some excellent laws when it comes to people who landed our shores and who do need assistance escaping war zones. South Africa's constitution is quite welcoming to people who seek that status. So thankfully, we express gratitude to President Cyril Ramaphosa. We express gratitude to Minister Ronald Lamola for speeding up the process and expediting the process to ensure that our visitors were processed and they were allowed to get in. Almost all of them were extremely exhausted. There was fatigue on their faces. They'd been journeying for the better part of 24 hours. They were told about their journey in occupied Palestine. They were given a few hours' notice to get ready. So for the listeners who aren't familiar with how this entire situation has played out, the other element, which is not in South Africa, is that there's an organization called Al-Majd, Al-Majd Europe, which has been behind these transfers of our brothers and sisters from occupied Palestine to other parts of the world. Now, we initially broke the story on Al-Majd at the end of October when we were asked to look into the website. There was a whole lot of red flags that we had picked up. Al-Majd, for example, claimed to be 10 or 15 years old. Their website's only registered in 2025. They claim to have worked with a number of reputable organizations in assisting Palestinians. There's not a single mention of any of these organizations on their websites. All the images on the website are AI generated. That was picked up by the naked eye. There's no registered charity address, charity number on their website, despite them claiming that they have offices in Germany and offices in Sheikh Jarrah in East Al-Quds. Now, it so happened that with the investigative journalism that's been taking place by leading media houses, Al Jazeera had a team go out to East Jerusalem during this week to go and verify the address. It turned out absolutely blank. The address is there, but there's nobody at that address remotely connected to Al-Majd. Haaretz broke a story the other day, which was quite important. The expose looked into Al-Majd and the chief person in charge of Al-Majd is a dual national Israeli-Estonian individual by the name of Tom Lind, or Tom Lind, as is on his LinkedIn page. The organizations, media organizations, have been doing a lot of work into this to try and get some more information, but patch together the entire route, how this has taken place, how Palestinians have been exactly paying for their own displacement. Although the Israelis are claiming that Palestinians have a choice to leave, you only have a choice between two options that are livable. By design, Israel has made Gaza uninhabitable, and therefore some Palestinians who can manage to leave are trying to leave in order to provide a better, somewhat semblance of a future for them and their immediate families, bearing in mind that they've got extended family, parents, relatives who are still in Gaza. Yeah. Almost all of the arrivals in South Africa are professionals. There are doctors among them, there are dentists, there are accountants, there are IT professionals, there are business people among them. And this speaks further to the demonic plan by the Israelis, which want to cleanse Gaza or thin Gaza out from its skilled personnel. Remember, a lot of them were targeted at the onset of the genocide. Israel went after some of the academics, some of the leading academics and the brains in Gaza, and they murdered them. So this is a further attempt to try and decimate Gaza even further. There's a lot of dark forces at play here. The one thing that was established is that the Al-Majd organization works closely with the Israeli military, and it's probably a shell company of Israel, which Israel is known for doing, for carrying out illegal operations all over the world. They create shell companies, which then carry out the dirty work on their behalf. So people were then taken and transported from Gaza to the Kerem Shalom crossing under military escort, taken to Ramon Airport. And from Ramon Airport, they were placed on a Romanian airline, a private charter Romanian airline, which took them to Nairobi. Only once in Nairobi were they told they were coming to South Africa. They had no prior knowledge of the fact that they were coming to South Africa. They were transited for about 2 hours, give or take, between the two flights, and they were given boarding passes to South Africa. There were no security checks. There were no passport control. There was none of those done by the Kenyan authorities in Nairobi at Jomo Kenyatta Airport, and then they were flown on to South Africa. The airline that was used for the second flight into South Africa, the charter, has been traced back to Global Aviation, of which Lyft Airlines is a subsidiary. So there's a lot of question marks that we have, and that our organizations and media need to pull up within what's going on here in South Africa as well.
Brother Khalid, as South Africans, do you consider their arrival in South Africa a humanitarian success, a warning sign, or both?
Well, that would be a bit of a challenge in terms of a humanitarian success. I think in terms of, nobody wants Palestinians to leave their land. It's their land. And the South African government has taken the position with the announcement by Ronald Lamola yesterday that South Africa is not going to be accepting more flights with Palestinians, not because South Africa doesn't support the Palestinians. South Africa absolutely supports the Palestinians in their quest for liberation. South Africa also supports the fact that Palestinians need to live on their own land. So in no way is this going to be supporting an ethnic cleansing of the people of Gaza. However, like I stated, those who've come here required assistance, and the community has opened their hearts, and their doors to whoever needs, as the community has done with people from other backgrounds and other areas who fled war-torn areas to come to South Africa. The organizations and the communities have been extremely helpful over the years, and I think South Africans have a general track record of assisting people in need.
Brother Khalid Fauda from Social Intifada, Jazakallah, thank you so much for linking up with us in News in Focus on Radio Al-Ansar.
It's a pleasure.
वो शहरे मोहब्बत जहाँ मुस्तफा है वहीं घर बनाने को जी चाहता है वो शहरे मोहब्बत जहाँ मुस्तफा है वहीं घर बनाने को जी चाहता है वो सोने से कंकर वो चांदी सी माटी नजर में बसाने को जी चाहता है वो शहरे मोहब्बत जहाँ मुस्तफा है वहीं घर बनाने को जी चाहता है जो पूछा नबी ने कि कुछ घर पे छोड़ा तो सिद्दीक़ अकबर के होठों पे आया जो पूछा नबी ने कि कुछ घर पे छोड़ा तो सिद्दीक़ अकबर
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Ansaar, Durban 90.4 and Petermarisburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sacoor. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Radio Ansaar, keeping you informed.
मेरे आका मेरे मौला मेरे आका मेरे मौला मुहम्मदुर रसूलुल्लाह मुहम्मदुर रसूलुल्लाह मेरे आका मेरे मौला मेरे आका मेरे मौला मुहम्मदुर रसूलुल्लाह मुहम्मदुर रसूलुल्लाह जहाँ में उनसा चेहरा है न है खंदा जबी कोई अभी तक जन सकीना औरतें उनसा हंसी कोई नहीं रखी है कुदरत ने मेरे आका कमी तुझ में जो चाहा आपने मौला वो रखा है सभी तुझ में मेरे आका मेरे मौला मेरे आका मेरे मौला मुहम्मदुर रसूलुल्लाह मुहम्मदुर रसूलुल्लाह बदी का दौर था हर सू
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We're running overtime in News in Focus this evening, and one listener wrote in and said, couldn't South Africa have impounded the airplane due to the discrepancies of the whole situation? But as Sister SUMAYA, received information on the interview, that we had to consider the humanitarian part and our linkage to Palestine, and a decision was taken, and I hope everything will, going forward will be in the best interest of our brothers and sisters in Palestine. We played a couple of nasheeds at the request of some of our listeners because we gave them a variety because they're sitting up so late in the evening. We're going to wrap up now in the next few minutes, but I've got HASSAN MOTALA. I kept him waiting quite a long while in the studio. But HASSAN, the rating agencies, S&P, have picked up South Africa's rating now, probably because of certain positives. Can you just highlight to our listeners some good news in terms of the financial sector?
Sure. Look, it's been the first time in nearly 2 decades that one of the major global rating agencies has upgraded South Africa, which is an important note to note because only 3 countries this year globally have had an upgrade from any of the rating agencies. So it's an important point. And this rating, if you look at it both so they've got 2 ratings. One is a South African rating and another one is for our debt that is outside the country. The South African debt rating is now basically just 1 notch below an investment grade. What it means for the ordinary listener out there and for everybody to understand is that the better your ratings, the better it is in terms of your cost of borrowing. So, for example, you go to a bank, you're borrowing now for your mortgage or for the house loan or a car loan and stuff like that. So the rate that they'll charge you, to pay over time. Say, for example, they'll say 10% because you're a very good payer, you earn well, and you've got a good track record, a credit history in terms of paying back. But if you've got a bad credit record or not a very great credit record, and you're a bit tight, or your budget is a bit tight in terms of your earning and your expenditure and the like, they may charge you 15%. So it depends. Similarly, countries have similar type of ratings, which impacts them in terms of. So this is very good, because remember, one of the key issues which we chatted about last week was that South Africa has seen debt skyrocket over the last decade. Now that debt, they're hoping to start stabilize. It's important that with a better credit rating, that means our interest costs or debt financing cost slowly comes down, so long as obviously overall debt is not going up, but slowly comes down because the cost of borrowing comes down. So that's firstly a good point. Secondly, when rating agencies give you, firstly, they increase the rating and they said there's a positive outlook. So what that means is it starts to give confidence to both local and foreign investors in the country. When investors start to see that the rating agencies see that there's a bit more stability in the country and the system, and there's a bit more positiveness in terms of the outlook of the economy and the like, they get more enticed to come in and start investing more in the country. Very important, because, and we will touch on this point now, is this week here is an important week. Firstly, you've got the B20. B20 is a lot of the executives and sort of deputy, the senior people in governments and business and the like that are in our country currently in Sandton and are basically working and preparing, leading towards the G20, which is taking place in this weekend. The G20 is senior leaders from across the globe that are coming to our country. This is the first time Africa is hosting a G20 ever. And unfortunately, you must have a spoiled sport and somebody that likes to, spoil things as they are. That's the Americans. So 2 weeks ago, Donald Trump highlighted that he's not going to attend and nobody from America is going to be attending this meeting. And they're obviously trying to bully us in many ways. They're instructing South Africa now there shouldn't be a joint statement. So they're doing things obviously because of certain challenges, certain issues around what our stance around Israel, and they're bringing up some other issues around so-called white genocide and the like. But nonetheless, you've got a lot of the other major countries are here. And this B20 leading through the G20 in the weekend is important because it highlights and showcases South Africa. It's an important point because all of a sudden, Joburg's being cleaned up in the last 2 weeks. You've had they're moving away some of the homeless people out of the city. They're cleaning the streets up. It's looking better. The potholes in many places have been fixed up, and SAPS is very visible across. So the point that always that we say before this, that we don't have the capacity and like, how is it then that we have capacity and the wherewithal to do all of this now, but we don't have it throughout the year? There must be consistency in this also by our municipalities, our police force, and the provincial governments and the national governments in sustaining these type of efforts throughout the year. Important. Joburg people are seeing it. They're seeing all of a sudden this visibility of police, cleaner streets, and there's been fixing up of roads and the like in the last 2-3 months or so. This needs to be a sustained thing. So if we can do that now, we can do a lot of it throughout the year and continue going forward as well. I think but the importance of this G20, besides the fact that it's highlighting South Africa's important role within the African context and also from a global context in terms of driving this important summit, it also highlights and showcases our country. It showcases our country in showing that rating agencies are now highlighting positiveness and positive outlook. It's telling these big G20 countries, the likes of China, India, and the like that are coming here, we are open. We are open for business. We are open for investments. There's plenty of opportunities for your countries to come and trade with us and invest in our countries. Secondly, tourism. Southern Sun reported today or yesterday, was it? They're saying that the numbers they're seeing now is higher than World Cup time. And remember, World Cup 2010, we had a fantastic period. We are now seeing higher tourist numbers coming into the hotels and the like. So again, it's highlighting that tourism is an important point in terms of driving. And I know we're running out of time. Just the one point to highlight. For example, South Africa this year, January to September, saw 7.6 million international visitors during the 9 months this year. It's 1.1 million more than last year. That's a big jump. On if you look at 1.1 million on 6.5 million last year, that's close to 20% increase year on year in international visitors coming to our country. And they're coming with hard currency to spend in our country, which is good for jobs, good for growth. It's fantastic for also getting tax revenues because they're spending VAT increases. That's why we saw also VAT has been picking up, because it's not only locals, it's foreigners that are spending, and they're spending on goods and services. VAT is being collected for that. So it's an important point. Tourism picks up, and this is an area which we can continue to grow, and including our province. And this is an important period. December, January is one of the busiest periods for our province as well. We need to make sure our beaches are clean and there's no issues with the water, and that our hotels and the guest houses and the like are ready so that we can accommodate a lot of the visitors that will come from up north. And they will be coming into our shores, especially this December, January period. And we need to benefit from it and hopefully see strong growth and sort of job creation as well during that period.
And indeed, we have SUK 2025 coming up.
Exactly.
From the December the 24th to January the 4th. And we're expecting a bumper crowd because we got approximately 360 stall holders from throughout the world that are joining us this time.
100%.
A lot of value for money there. And we expect more than 150,000 tourists during the 12 days.
If you look at last year, the SUK had one of the best years ever. It had a fantastic run. And the important part was, it was a diverse consumer base that came to the SUK relative to previous years. So, and again, I think the fact that KZN and Durban is welcoming more and more visitors from up north and the like, we should see better traction, and also importantly as well, more diversification and the like. So it's important. People can get to understand different cultures, different religions and the like, and the SUK helps to inculcate that, and the SUK helps to it's a place to come and have fun, shop, and at the same time, also you get to learn about many different cultures and religions as well.
You can spend a day there without a problem because there's salah facilities, there's
100%.
There's a lot of food stalls, and people to network. But listen, we're running out of time. We're 22:40. SUMAYA, it's past your bedtime. I think you want to wrap up quickly before I wrap the program up. I know you had a metric program yesterday. Today you covered a fair portion of News in Focus, which you always cover. But you also got another new program coming up on Friday. Perhaps you want to wrap up and just tell our listeners, look forward to your program that you used to have on Wednesdays for the youth. You now got a new slot on Fridays between 6 and 7. So this perhaps you can wrap up and just tell our listeners what's it all about.
Well, the new show is Youth Frequency. It's a show which is very, very different. It's a show which is keeping it real. So we are getting parents, the youth in studio. There's even debates and arguments, who's right and who's not right. And alhamdulillah, 3 shows have gone through, and the listeners are thoroughly enjoying it because it's like a live television if you're watching it on YouTube. So this week on Wednesday, on Friday, we're actually going to talk about influences. What are influencers really influencing the youth? Do they have qualifications? Are they skilled? Or are they just wasting time? And are the youth going forward? Or they just, lazing back? So we're going to tackle that there. On a closing note concerning the charter flight carrying 153 Palestinians from Gaza, which arrived in South Africa, the key message basically is South Africa responded with humanity, but the truth behind the flight must still be discovered, and we must still investigate. And that we'll have to follow probably next week.
Well, thank you, SUMAYA, for joining us and sharing some valuable information with some of the guests we interviewed on a very important subject. I think our listeners have got a better understanding of what happened. on the humanitarian on one side and some of the issues regarding the Zionist Israel and their agenda on the other side. And we will watch closely how the South African government reacts to the situation. And we are make duas that, those people that came here, honestly, they're taken care of and they're relocated back to Gaza, to where they belong, rather than looking at them as refugees. Abdul, I think one listener wrote in and said, please repeat your number. And Ish Prahlad's number, if you can just quickly repeat it on the phone, because they're listening to us and want to get assistance on the 300,000 bill. So Abdul, if you can give your number and Ish's number, please.
Sure, Yunus. My number is 083-490-6551. I'll repeat, 083-490-6551. I'm just checking up for Isha's number as we speak. Isha's number is 083-480-2955. 083-480-2955. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for sharing that with our listeners, Brother Abdul. We'd like to close now and thank our guest that joined us this evening, Reverend Frank CHIKANE. He's the South African chapter of Anti-Apartheid Movement. YASEEN Khan, head of Pilgrim Experience for TWF HAJJ. He gave us some valuable information. As usual, HASSAN MOTALA on some valuable information, positive sentiment from the markets, hoping for a bumper, tourism in December. Durban is the place to be. Ish Prahlad, from Chairman of RESEVOIR's Ratepayers Association, as well as Chairman of ERRA, and Abdul VALODIA, who does a lot of work behind the scenes to bring in a lot of guests that join us in the program, particularly on the Palestine issue, and SUMAYA Khan, who's wearing several caps, including, chair of the Women's League for United for Palestine. So she's quite okay with the Palestinian setup. Also, I'd like to thank our technician, Asif Pele, who played us some beautiful nasheeds this evening. He continues to do that in my show, and they always say we look forward to the nasheeds on News in Focus. But my closing remarks is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of this entire world. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Nothing will happen without the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We must turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, keep our 5 times salah, preferably with Jamaat for the men folk, women folk at home, live an honest and righteous life, engage in amals that are pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make du'as for those that are struggling in other parts of the world, including our Palestinian brothers and sisters, and always engage to assist humanitarian. And this is the ultimate objective of the Ansaar Foundation and the media network, is to disseminate valuable information to our listeners. I know many of you all have sat up till late in the night. It's 11:15 now, and I'm sure this is one of the later evenings we finished. And, Sumaya is saying we can continue till 1 in the morning, because when we have our suk, we continue till after 12. So we're giving the guys a bit of a prelude of what's to come. But, my sort of closing remarks is do make du'as for the ummah. And don't forget, you can read your tahajjud before you go to sleep, make wuzu. So our objective is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So on that note, that brings us to the end of News in Focus for this evening. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Let's close with another beautiful nasheed by our tech Asif Isa. Until next Wednesday, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
तमन्ना है शहरों का सरदार देखो, मदीना की गलियां वो बाजार देखो, जहां भेज दी रब ने जन्नत बनाकर, हबीबे खुदा का वो दरबार देखो। तरसती हैं आँखें जिन्हें देखने को, वो गुंबद वो जाली वो मीनार देखो। गमों में गुजारी है ये जिंदगानी, खुशी के वहाँ दिन मैं 2-4 देखूं।
Listen to News in Focus on Radio Ansaar, Durban 90.4 and Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM every Wednesday from 8 p.m. with Yunus Sacoor. That's 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Radio Ansaar, keeping you informed.
Radio